Welcome to the Popcorn Junkies!
Welcome! What is that? Could it be a Diplodocus? Could it be a Tyrannosaurus Rex? How come there's no such thing as simple Tyrannosaurus Rexes anymore? When you were a kid, you were a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Because
man.
they were boring.
No, they were vicious.
They were vicious, but they were boring. Things have had to move on. Mum, if we're going to start this review with you rummaging around for definitions and Latin original names of dinosaurs and what's this dinosaur, we're not going to run through what dinosaur featured in this film.
No.
We're not going to move through each type of dinosaur.
No, we can't because I don't know the names of any of them.
Thank God for that. All we know is that one of them's called Blue and one of them's not called Blue.
I know Blue and I know her baby. It's the same as her, only smaller.
Where are you at on the whole...
Yeah, that's where I am.
He's triangulating when he does that.
Triangulating. I thought that was a great word they made up for it. Triangulating. Triangulate now, and they all did it.
So where are you at on the whole Jurassic World? I don't think I've ever asked you, what do you generally think of Jurassic World? From the original film to now, to the whole concept?
No, you never have asked me that, Mark.
No, what do
I've
you
been
think?
dying to tell you.
Tell me.
But the thing is that I think I was dragged into the Jurassic Park world because Kiki was very into it, if you remember, for a certain while.
Right.
Do you remember
she was into Jurassic, yeah. She was into
about 3 films back.
Yeah, she was into it at the beginning of this trilogy. I mean, this trilogy, this is the last one, Jurassic World Dominion.
She dragged me into it, so if she hadn't been into it, I probably wouldn't even have noticed.
But this is, so what we're reviewing is Jurassic World Dominion, which is essentially the third in a trilogy, which is the second trilogy of 2 trilogies. The first trilogy, obviously starting with Steven Spielberg's epic first ever. Going all the way back to Spielberg's original. What are you? Were you a Jurassic Park fan?
Was that Richard Attenborough?
Yes.
Yes. That's really going back. How
That's
many
going
years
back.
is that? Oh.
Don't know, Mum.
Okay.
20, 30?
No, I remember that, and I remember thinking it was very good at the time. It was new. It was, the idea of there being dinosaurs all in the park. It was good. All of that I liked.
And it's based on a Michael Crichton novel.
Michael Crichton, of course.
Westworld and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
So the original was obviously the innovative use of things like a glass of water and the pounding of the T-Rex's foot and all that. So incredibly subtle, whilst also incredibly violent and scary and arresting. I seem to remember Izzy. I think Izzy might have been young when the first one came out.
That thing of the water vibrating was seminal. A seminal shot as much as Jaws with the shark or anything.
The whole T-Rex, the infamous scene, it's the profile of its face coming down beside the car, breathing out the nostrils, all that kind of stuff. It was all very new.
Yeah, it was new.
And now we're at the back end of, film 6, which, let's face it, it's never good when you get to that. I mean, back in the day, you used to have films like, if you knew a film was called Jaws 6, you would go, what a crock of shit it would be before you even watched it. Whereas now, things are sort of, I don't know if you've noticed, sequel after sequel after sequel. They're given sort of elaborate sort of new titles.
Are they fooling us? Are they tricking us?
I think they're tricking us. I think there's a bit of gaslighting going on here, Mark.
Oh, I think that's true.
So this is Jurassic World Dominion. It's directed by Colin Trevorrow, who directed the original Jurassic World, was it? Jurassic Kingdom? Whatever the first of these 3 is. I thought the last film that we saw, Jurassic World, was okay. And yet it's sort of, the way it ended, I thought, was the most promising aspect of it, which was this idea that humans were going to be living alongside dinosaurs, and dinosaurs were going to have been habituated, and they'd be in our everyday lives.
Which is how this film starts.
And I had a major problem right in the first 5 minutes.
What was it, Mark?
In that rapidly constructed montage of where the world was at, with all the, pterodactyls flying through New York and all that kind of stuff, that should have been the film. We should have got to that point. That should have been what this film...
I see.
I was expecting at the end of the last film that we were going to see how humans coexisted, not that we've all coexisted for so long.
No, I don't think they had a game plan for this film
Not at all. I think within the first 5 minutes, my heart sank, because I knew it's an hour, it's 147 minutes long, so it's 2.5 hours nearly. And I thought to myself, hang on a minute, hang on. The very thing that was the richest aspect of the last film was going to be learning about the ways in which we kind of lived alongside dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So you have this rapidly constructed montage at the beginning where, as I say, pterodactyls flying around. You had like dash cams where they were avoiding cars on the road and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That should have been it, because they could have treated that like a sort of alien invasion type thing. It would have been creepy.
Yeah.
You could have gone all Spielbergian on it. They could have been like, it would have been the way in which dinosaurs encroached on our suburban lives, our urban lives.
And everybody's fond of the big vegetarian ones, and everybody's slightly scared of the...
getting to that point. I thought that would have been the richest thing, but instead what they did was they leapfrogged that. We all now live alongside each other. It's an uneasy sort of
alliance,
exactly. And yet now we've also got a new sort of island or world.
Yeah, I didn't really get that.
Which was like a research centre, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was very confused from the very beginning.
Oh, well, actually, that makes me feel better because I was totally confused from the very beginning.
I think it threw away the best film. I thought it had the germs. It had. I know. I really meant it. It had the DNA.
Oh, not the
of
DNA.
a much better film in the first 5 minutes
Oh, isn't that interesting?
sort of reportage footage that they were showing, which was a kind of, they got us there really quickly anyway. And then we're introduced to Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard living in the woods.
Chris Pratt. Once Chris Pratt came on screen, I relaxed because I thought,
did you?
I know. Well, he's going to be like that. He's going to have Blue somewhere there. And in this case, we had not only Blue, but Blue's baby, although she couldn't have a baby. And was she a clone or wasn't she? And she dashes off again. All of that relationship I could relax with.
Could you? If I'm really honest, Chris Pratt was my next this big disappointment in the whole Jurassic World thing. Chris Pratt is a cheeky chappy. I know I'm not just thinking of him as a Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, but this role, I think the problem with Chris Pratt in Jurassic World is that he's too serious.
No, I don't disagree with that at all.
Where's his roguish charm?
Roguish charm is absolutely right. It was non-existent.
Where's his
It wasn't
breaking
there.
the rules?
No, exactly, and I agree with that. When I say that I was relieved when he was on screen, that's simply because I'd got lost in the story.
Right.
And once he comes into it, he's going to tame everything.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, to be honest, I found all the returning adults a pain in the neck.
Hang on, I disagree with that.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, we've got Bryce Dallas Howard, who I have to say has probably got the most staggering eyes on the planet. So Bryce Dallas Howard, obviously Ron Howard's daughter, she's really availed herself as a brilliant director on many of the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. So Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt are looking after Maisie, who is a cloned child, a cloned version of Benjamin, her father's daughter, who died, I think, in a car crash. And Benjamin, if we want to know who Benjamin is the really old chap who died at the end of the last film. He was Richard Attenborough's business partner who set it all up.
Okay.
And she's a direct antecedent of the creative pair that set up Jurassic Park.
Okay.
But she's a clone. And they're hiding her. They're keeping her on, they're hiding her.
I sort of started to know where we were with that as well, because clearly if somebody's hiding somebody, that person is going to be found and people are going to be chasing them.
Exactly.
Wants them.
And then I thought, so
far more than the well, sorry, I'm probably leaping to the end, but this was far more a film about the gang joining up than it was with any realistic sort of dinosaur
I'm going to put
action.
it really bluntly. This film was made for no other reason other than to bring the old gang back together.
Exactly.
And I'm going to surprise you with what I say.
Oh, unless it's something like you suddenly really like Laura Dern, I won't be surprised.
No, I'm going to really surprise you with what I've got to say.
Go on then.
I thought within the first 5 minutes, they'd thrown away the best film they could have made. They had a really weak, lame plot device of the daughter who's cloned, who's hidden. Chris Pratt, really serious, not fun. Cloned daughter, really boring. No disrespect to the young girl, but directed badly. It was very eggy, very eggy.
I thought the whole film was directed badly. Yeah.
You then had this sort of strange James Bondian plot where there was this sort of, there was the kind of dark market or black market of which I quite like. That could have been quite rich. You know, that dinosaur meat trading in dinosaurs. That's what would happen.
It is what would happen.
I thought that was quite Star Wars. I thought they could have gone into that. But again, I thought that could have been another layered. They could have gone, if they wanted to, Blade Runner on this.
Yeah.
They could have gone, there could have been this sort of, how are we living uncomfortably with dinosaurs? They need to get us involved in the pitch. It could have been, then there's this black market develops of eggs and bones and the rarity of the meat and all that, and that's really horrible, and you could build in some really real villains there. So you had that underworld. Then you had this really odd supermodel woman running around with a red bleeper.
Oh my goodness!
Sort of. I mean, if it was a simple I was like something at school where she'd point a sort of a remote control of a red light and it would beam at someone.
Oh, that's
and then some of
right.
those dinosaurs would.
Who the hell was she?
Who was she? Why was she? She was obviously working for the guy who we're going to see in a while, who's like, let's call him the Elon Musk type.
Yeah.
Who's running a sort of evil, yet another evil clone centre. Exactly. Yeah. So it became Bondian. They were literally riding bikes through the same streets that we'd just seen in No Time to Die.
Yeah.
So you had all
Chris
of that.
Pratt likes a bike.
Chris Pratt likes a bike, but he's humorless on a bike.
No, he was.
So you had all of that, and then thank God is all I'm going to say. Thank God we cut to yet another. It felt like about 3 films were made, and they were all spliced together.
Okay. So what did you think of the gang joining up, though?
And then they cut to lovely Laura Dern, and they cut to Sam Neill on an archaeological dig. So suddenly we're in Indiana Jones. And we right down to him rescuing his hat.
Yeah, and also looking at one of the students in the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
that
I thought she was going to blink her eyes and was going to say "love you,"
He kept referring to other films,
which is fine because this is made by Spielberg's company.
Okay.
He's still
Yes,
on
it
there
is
as an exec
actually,
producer.
isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
fine. But so you know, so it was riffing on all of that sort of stuff. And then I have to say, I thought the most interesting part of the new story that worked really well for me was the Locust. That first
Yeah.
scene with the Locust,
Yeah.
I thought was really good. I didn't believe that those kids would have survived.
No.
But they were really creepy.
They were.
Suddenly there were these dino locusts
Yeah.
that were kind of about to eat all of mankind's food.
Yeah.
And we were in a real threat. And I thought the whole dino side of things, which I've tired of a long time ago, I thought that was really good. I thought that was really rich. I really liked the Locusts. I thought, oh, this is a bit eerie and creepy.
I like the Locusts, but they were the only thing I did like in terms of...
Well, that's why we're talking about them.
Well, no,
What
but
did
in
you like
terms of
about
any
them?
of the other dinosaur type of things that they brought out.
Well,
yeah.
I think we're a bit bored of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a kid playing with dinosaurs, and you would play with them for a bit and then you get really bored of them.
Yeah.
Because they can't do much other than walk around.
No, but also the clear implication was that they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and now we're dealing with such big ones that we can't even name them.
No.
But I didn't feel any jeopardy as a result of that. I mean,
I know, and so we get. So how did you feel when you saw Laura? I mean, I suppose it's always a curious moment, isn't it? Laura, you are looking. I found myself rather unforgivably interrogating their faces and marvelling at how old they've become.
I did too, but I mean, Laura Dern's a good actress, so
Yeah, yeah, she's great.
I can't say anything about her other than she's a good actress, but Sam Neill is a good actor and he looks the part to me. I like him in everything he's in, so I gave him special dispensation. And then they build the...
worried about Sam.
Were you? What were the romance going on between him and Laura Dern?
I was worried. I didn't think he particularly knew what was going on. I was worried that actually he was... Because I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. And I was slightly worried that he was brought in, but he might not be very well.
No, don't say that.
No, seriously, because if you look at... I was looking at him really closely and seeing... He didn't really... Mind you, maybe he just didn't really know what was going on in the script.
Well,
because it was very... I mean, Sam Neill is a great actor, and she's a great actress.
He inhabits parts, whereas the others
Absolutely.
didn't.
And Jeff Goldblum came back in, and albeit
Being
Jeff
Jeff
is always
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. It's
Yeah.
like someone said he can make the most ordinary line of script, sort of like he's serving up a three-course meal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have to say, as soon as the three of them came in, I felt quite comfortable. It was like some old friends had come back. Yeah, I felt safe.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's how I felt with Chris Pratt to begin
Oh,
with.
well, there you go.
But not the gang. I thought
But
the
the
gang
gang
were all
didn't-
too old. They
Right.
were all sort of, I've seen them a million times before. Sam Neill was the only one that I actually sort of felt was inhabiting the role.
I don't think you were enough of a Jurassic Park
No.
fan to get the importance of seeing the three of them back together.
No, I wasn't.
It was a really key thing because, as is the way with so many films, films are often made where some actors don't even see each other on the set. They just they do the reverses, and they made a really good point, and I think it was an important point in this film to do a lot of three shots. So they did have the three actors all together, and I can well imagine that would be important for the actors. And I don't know, there was something very nostalgic about it. I have to say, I was getting the similar vibes that I got to Top Gun. It's that legacy sequel thing.
I thought that a little bit with what's his name, the last one that came into it?
Jeff Goldblum.
With Jeff Goldblum character, because I can remember him so well from the other films, and he seemed to be the one that was he seemed to be saying, he was the last one to be taken in by all the stuff that was happening, wasn't he? And I thought that he was actually a baddie, and then he turned, didn't he, and became a goodie in this.
I thought he had one of the best lines, Jeff Goldblum, which was a total indictment of modern day corporate culture, where he said, don't listen to your bosses, guys. They're just going to give you job titles and pay you wages that make you think you're something, you're important, and just so that you don't question anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I mean, I like Jeff Goldblum. I mean, he obviously relishes himself, but I felt quite comfortable with the three of them in it. I thought, oh, this is nice. This is nice. And then I found myself irritated with the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard narrative. And then I thought we were introduced to the villain, and the villain in the piece was the curious guy who is essentially...
Who is that guy?
I don't know, but I thought he was a brilliant villain.
He was a good villain.
He was a brilliant villain who never finished his sentences. I thought it was really clever to weaponise that sort of, not even passive-aggressive, but that sort of eccentric, boffin kind of imprecision and sort of indecision, where he'd kind of go, yeah, well, of course, and to make that, I thought, for example, he was so much better at being that sort of Steve Jobs, Elon Musk type.
Yeah.
The Mark Rylance was in that Don't Look Up thing, which was ghastly.
Yeah,
I thought he was a really good villain because I believed him. He wasn't actually threaded through with malice, but he didn't.
No.
He had that sort of just desire for kind of scientific success that kind of overrode sort of humanity. In a sense.
I mean, I didn't really think anything about him.
Oh, I really liked him.
Except
He
I
made me laugh.
must have known some of the older ones better than I thought, because I knew that the Chinese guy was a baddie in the old ones and suddenly turned and became a goodie in this one.
He's sort of having his
Not just a
renaissance.
goodie. I mean, he becomes the main.
It's the definition of goodness.
Well, he is, because he's going to create.
He's going to heal the world.
He is.
He's going to cure the world.
No, it's no good. Yes,
no,
he is.
I know. And so I felt it, but then I felt it just started to tread the same old territory. Then we had the old gang went underground, and they looked like they were on a Jurassic Park ride.
Yes.
Did you notice where dinosaurs would come out of alcoves and go,
yes, what was
and then go
that
back
about?
in like they were on a ride? Go,
They probably were.
yeah, and then he
just
dropped his hat in Indiana Jones style and grabbed his hat.
because the other big elephant in the room, or not elephant in the room,
T-Rex
was the
in the room.
CGI.
CGI. What
I
did you
thought
think?
it was awful. I mean, you've just given a good example of that whole sort of,
Sequence, yeah.
a ride would have been better.
You know when you go on a really bad theme
Yeah,
park ride,
yeah.
and the scary bit is like a clown that goes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was
This
like.
is a whole sequence where they're walking around a subterranean vault, and they're all.
And then it builds up to this scene. And let me just get out of the way why it was so sort of disappointing to me was between these two immense dinosaurs, because as somebody said, they get bigger and bigger, fighting while everybody stood and watched them.
Yeah.
I know, and I couldn't have cared less.
But what was really odd was that one of the giant dinosaurs looked like a massive emu.
Yes, what was that about?
With scissor fingers.
What was that about? Oh, I thought it's
Edward Scissorhands. It had evolution had made it unable to develop.
I'm so pleased you brought that up, because at that point I thought, have I dropped off at some point? No. Is that a sort of an indication of how wrong the whole thing has gone, in that he's making half bird, half thing.
That would be interesting, because that would be verging into body horror. And
that's what I thought, because how can it possibly have hands?
It was odd, and I think it was the same one. I thought it was quite a nice scene on the ice when they were fighting on the ice and they were stepping on the ice.
Yeah.
But when it came from round the corner and it looked like emu.
Yeah.
With a shocked look on its face.
I know.
And it looked at its hands, and they were giant sort of.
That was not a good moment.
Edward Scissorhands. It was a very.
It was as if the directors and producers had in their minds some set scenes. The ice was one of them. I mean, that's always a good, reliable sort of trope, isn't it, to get something underneath the ice, and then try to hitch the story to those things. And we didn't feel anything. I mean, when you think, and just to go back to the beginning of our review, I mean, how little the whole idea of a saucer and just shaking, how brilliant that is. Subtle, exactly. Yeah. And this was hammering us with these things and meaning nothing.
And in a weird way, I think that's the sad sort of fate of what's happened to Jurassic Park and World, whatever incarnation you want to talk about. Because I think we are at the absolute end here, because you've gone from the sophistry and subtlety of a glass shaking and everything that then sort of spirals from that to now just chucking bigger and brasher, and it's like so many of these ideas, they need to go small, they need to go a little bit more not intellectual, but they need to go a little bit more sort of existential, so like you say, maybe it's fusing dino stuff with humans. That's where they need to go next. So maybe that will be the next thing, Jurassic Man. I mean, if I was working at Universal, I think they need to give me a call, because there were so many better ways they could have pursued this. So many better ways. And at times
Don't
it just
forget
felt
Blue
like
had a baby though.
Well, Blue and Blue's baby. I didn't buy any of that.
I like Blue though.
Yeah. Triangulate. And then the villain got by the stupid one. I quite like the fact that the infamous dinosaur where three of them get you and one of you gets you, and then they sort of vomit stuff all over your face. Yeah. They look as badly made as the Gremlins were back in. It's like they've got all this CGI, and then you've suddenly got this really bad.
And you sort of start to think, you vaguely hear that the film has cost a fortune. You think, where have they spent their money? Except reuniting these extremely old actors together. And
I think the script was bad.
There was no script.
It was bad. I mean, the best lines were given to Jeff Goldblum. which isn't hard. But Chris Pratt has got great comic timing. He's a good comic actor.
Yeah.
You know, give him more.
Yeah.
You don't need all these worthier than thou kind of characters.
I don't think he smiled once. I
No.
don't think he sort of made a light-hearted joke once. Maybe that's Bryce
But the
Howard.
weirdest aspect of all of it was I came out not minding having spent all that time with it. It was really odd. I
did you?
didn't come out thinking, oh, what a waste of fucking time.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I totally resented the time that I spent. I was thinking,
Okay.
I mean, didn't know whether I had all the plot sort of things missing. I have never recognised the difference between the dinosaurs. So the whole going towards this
Sure.
big, thing.
It's
scene.
just big.
Just big.
I mean, and I lose interest in big because no, however big you make a set of gnashers,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be any more impressed than I was the first
No,
time.
except that you were quite impressed with the hands, and so
Well,
was
I
I.
wasn't impressed with the hands. I was just like, how is this curiously evolved like
Well,
this?
exactly. I thought that was a
I mean, at one point I thought a giant Orville was going to come out.
Well,
from behind
exactly.
something.
I mean, how did they even get there? But no, I was
Okay.
bored to tears.
All right, well,
and
well, you're summing up. So
Okay, I'm
you
sorry,
carry on.
I'm
Go
sorry.
down that route, and at the end of it, give us your score.
I was bored to tears. The dinosaurs were sort of an added thing of. I'm always more interested, as you would expect, in the pterodactyls in the distance flying around because they're flying around, and so that sort of.
But
sparks my
there was
interest.
one pterodactyl. But did you notice? I even noticed that the scale of the size of the pterodactyls was so
Off.
It was so-
That's what I'm
when
saying.
they were on top of the Empire State Building. Did
What?
You, even you saw that?
Yes.
The scale was such that they were like, hang on, if they're that big, then it was a ludicrous size.
It was ridiculous.
It meant that its wingspan was the length of the Empire State Building because they hadn't thought that through.
They hadn't thought any of the CGI.
And then there was
to it.
another pterodactyl, but of course they get out of jail was they're giving it a different name by this point. It was
Well,
the
exactly.
Turrica.
Yeah.
And basically it put its beak into the top of the plane and opened it like a tin opener, didn't it?
Yeah.
We even had, that was even like Raiders of the Lost Ark, that airplane scene,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
At one point when she was taking off in the thing, I thought we were in Guardians of the Galaxy. She was like the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, there were all these sort of nods to better films in
Yeah,
a way.
absolutely.
No, I was totally bored. I didn't like the well, I was bored with the gang, although that did give me something to hang on to.
I felt comfortable with them.
I suppose I did too. I didn't know what the main thrust of it was, like in the sense that I didn't understand the girl. I didn't know whether she was real or not real. But I couldn't have cared less.
No.
And actually, I never, ever, ever leave films, halfway through or 3/4 of the way
You
through.
nearly did.
But I nearly did.
Wow, that is saying something. So what would
It
you
is.
give it, Mum?
17.
Wow, 17. Okay, really low. I thought this was a horrendously missed opportunity. Within that, though, there are some what I would call legacy sequel comfort points.
Yes.
And I think those points are mostly delivered by Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern. They've totally dropped. It was pointless having Chris Pratt in this. Just get rid of him. I mean, if you're just using him because you had him in the one that was such a success, just triangulating and all that bollocks. I do like Bryce Dallas Howard, but they brought nothing to the table.
Yeah.
No, there was no. It wasn't even the romance. You didn't even have the added extra thing of are they romantically interested in each other? Because at this point we've established they are.
Yeah.
So there was all of that. I think for Jurassic World in any capacity to survive this whole sorry episode,
Yeah.
they have to go smaller. They have to go internal. They have to start to look at where sort of DNA/AI/ fucking about with it and putting it into humans or something. It needs to just go smaller in its implications.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because I thought the cricket scenes
Yeah.
were good.
I thought
and
that was
I thought
interesting.
that's
Again,
what
around
was happening.
crops and around all that. I thought, yeah, that's
I
interesting.
thought it's going smaller.
Yeah,
Insects
yeah,
are the next dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I mean, in a way.
absolutely.
So.
And I thought all that was interesting. And maybe you could bring some viral aspect, a virus
Yeah.
that comes from the dinosaur. Just needs to be very cleverly thought through and not just more, bigger, and also the device of yet another sort of David Attenborough, well-meaning scientific guy who's gone crackpot and sort of now is taking it down the wrong. We've been there so many times.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that again.
Yeah.
And I maintain, watch the first 10 minutes first 5 minutes of the montage of news to get you up to speed, if you like, on where
Yeah.
the world's at. That everything that you've arrived at in that footage, the kind of crashes and cataclysms and the inability of dinos and humans to live alongside each other, the struggles, that could have all been the subject of this film, and that's what I thought we were going to get when I came out of the last one. Because I came out of the last one saying to the girls, I'm really excited what the next one's going to be. It's going to be how we live alongside them and them impinging on our own habitat. But they jumped beyond that to another rehash of another park-like situation.
Yeah, no, they did.
So
What would you give it?
I would give it
Be very interesting.
15.
Lower than me,
Yeah, 15.
even.
I thought it was bad, and it's 15
was bad,
only.
wasn't it?
And I don't even really think Sam Neill particularly knew what was going on.
No, I felt no. Oh dear. Triangulate.
Triangulate, Mum.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.